Okay, so let's talk about New Year's resolutions. If the very thought of making another one fills you with, I don't know, a mix of hope and just a little bit of dread, you are in exactly the right place. Because today, we're not going to talk about how to stick to your goals. We're going to talk about why you should probably just ditch them for something way, way more powerful. You know the feeling, right? The calendar flips over to January 1st, and boom, there's this massive pressure to become a whole new person overnight. We start drafting these huge, ambitious plans. We're going to lose the weight, read 50 books, finally launch that side hustle. And for a second, it feels really, really good. We're just full of all this hope and motivation. But then, reality sets in. And get this, studies show that a staggering 80% of New Year's resolutions are completely abandoned by February. 80%. I mean, that failure rate is just wild. It kind of forces you to ask a really important question. What if the problem isn't our willpower? What if the real problem is the resolution itself? And that leads us right into what we can call the resolution trap. It's this annual cycle where our absolute best intentions, our real, genuine desire to be better, somehow just end up making us feel disappointed and, well, not good enough. So let's break down why that is. It's such a frustrating loop, isn't it? We set some huge goal, we hit a bump in the road, and suddenly we feel like we've failed not just the goal, but ourselves. If you've ever felt that familiar knot in your stomach when you realize you've slipped up, you are so not alone. So what is going on here? Why does this keep happening? And here it is. This is the big idea for this whole explainer. The reason so many of us struggle with this stuff isn't because we lack discipline or desire. No way. The problem is the framework itself, that all or nothing, high pressure system that traditional resolutions are built on. All right, so let's really dig into this. Why do our biggest, most exciting goals so often just backfire? It turns out they might actually be designed to fail right from the very start. You know, a big goal can feel like you're standing at the bottom of a massive mountain. It's just overwhelming before you even take the first step. And that leads to this classic all or nothing thinking, where, say, one missed workout makes us feel like the whole thing is ruined. So why bother? We get so discouraged when we don't see results immediately, and that frustration just makes us want to quit. So what's lurking underneath this whole cycle? Well, there's this really sneaky psychological enemy at play, perfectionism. Now, we often think it's just about having high standards, but it's actually this toxic belief that we're just never good enough. It's that moment we start tying our self-worth directly to how well we perform. And this is the absolute core of the perfectionist trap. When our performance is a direct measure of our character, any little setback feels like a total catastrophe. It's no longer, oh, I failed at my goal. No, it becomes, I am a failure. And that mindset makes the messy, imperfect, and totally normal process of growing as a person feel almost impossible. Okay, so if the old way is clearly broken, what's the alternative? Well, this is where we can introduce a much kinder and honestly way more effective philosophy, the anti-resolution. Now, the anti-resolution is not about abandoning your ambition or giving up on growth, not at all. It's just a fundamental shift in where you put your focus. It's about prioritizing the small, daily actions, the process, instead of being obsessed with only the final result. It's about valuing the journey. And as we're about to see, sometimes improving your life by taking things away, not just adding more stuff to your to-do list. I love this metaphor because it makes the whole idea crystal clear. A traditional resolution is like a map. It has one single rigid destination. If you take a wrong turn, the map is useless, right? You feel lost. But an intention, that's like a compass. It doesn't give you a precise path, but it always points you in the right general direction. It lets you adapt and find a new route with some self-compassion when, life happens. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do this? How do we apply it in our real, messy lives? Let's get into the practical, actionable steps of the anti-resolution approach. So here's how it breaks down into 4 really key steps. First, instead of rigid outcomes, set intentions based on how you want to feel. Energized, creative, calm. Second, and this is a big one, create a stop doing list to subtract stress from your life. Third, focus on and celebrate the small wins to build momentum. And finally, maybe the most freeing step of all, let go of that perfectionism and embrace the incredible power of good enough. And this is what that reframing actually looks like. So instead of a punishing quota like read 50 books,
The intention becomes read stories that inspire me. See the difference? Instead of a rigid exercise 5 times a week, it's move in a way that feels good. Every single one of these shifts moves us away from a pass-fail test and toward a process that's actually sustainable and, enjoyable.
Okay, this next idea is honestly one of my favorites. Our culture is completely obsessed with adding more to our plates, right? More habits, more tasks, more hustle. The anti-resolution just flips that whole idea on its head. It asks a totally different question. What can you subtract from your life to create more peace and more space? So, a stop doing list or an unresolution list might look something like this. And notice, these aren't about achieving something new. They're about removing the things that cause stress and anxiety. Just imagine the mental space you'd create by letting go of these pressures. It's about improving your life by taking things away on purpose. Which brings us to our final and maybe the most important section here. Because the ultimate benefit of this entire approach isn't just about hitting your goals more effectively, it's about the incredible, profound power of just letting go. Think about this for a second. Asking yourself to commit to something perfectly for 365 days straight, that's just an invitation for anxiety. It really is like trying to carry all those bricks at once. You'd collapse. The anti-resolution approach just asks you to carry one brick. That's it. Just focus on today. It makes any goal feel manageable, and it keeps you right here in the present moment. For a lot of us, especially those of us who lean towards perfectionism, letting go of these rigid goals feels terrifying, right? It feels like losing control. But what if the opposite of control isn't chaos? What if it's trust? Trust in the process. Trust that other people can help. And maybe most importantly, trust that you are enough right now without having to hold everything together so tightly. Now let's be super clear about something. The anti-resolution is not an excuse to be mediocre. It's a strategy for sustainability and for genuine well-being. It's about choosing depth over breadth and choosing to be present over just performing. It is a conscious decision to raise your overall quality of life, not just chase another item on a checklist. So I'll leave you with this question. As you start thinking about the year ahead, before you make that long list of all the things you want to add to your life, I challenge you to make a different list first. What burdens, what expectations, what habits are you going to subtract? Because sometimes the most powerful way to grow isn't by adding more at all, but by creating the space for what truly matters.